Hello friends, it's very difficult to keep a level playing field when reporting a dispute, but this is exactly what I've tried to do by reflecting the opinion of every source of information. Opinion article: this is not over. Change in judicial strategy. We move immediately to plan B. The dam is about to burst. Many thought it would be the end. They will make demands in each state. The legal team has until January 6th. The president looks like a loser, but something doesn't fit. The rocks are about to move, according to the prophets. Ancient Egyptian astronauts and symbols in the Vatican. Let's start. Lawyer Rudy Giuliani said that this is not over, which means that he has the option of going to the district courts where they have legal standing. They will begin to file charges immediately. The president's legal team is planning to file reformed lawsuits, his lawyer said Saturday. We are moving immediately and smoothly to Plan B, which is to file lawsuits now in every state. We have them ready. They are just one version of what was taken to the Supreme Court. So last night the president made the decision. The lawyer said, Plan B or C. Most people have both a Plan A and B. The first one is generally related to the dreams you want to achieve in your life. The second one is one you pull out of your sleeve if everything fails. In these days, even this can fail, and you have to improvise a Plan C. In this case, Plan C could be the military option. The main problem people have in achieving our goals is false expectations. The effort required to do anything is generally underestimated. In our heads, everything seems easy because we do not see the path but the place of destination. Visualizing success is fine, but you will never get there if you don't have a well thought out strategy to achieve it. Case study. The Lone Star State sued the states of Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, and Michigan in the Supreme Court, arguing that the states in question had violated the Constitution in the way they had conducted their elections. But the Supreme Court decided not to hear the case on Friday, and many thought that would be the end of it. The country's highest court judges rejected the suit on Friday night. They ruled that Texas lacked the legal capacity to sue under the Constitution because it has not shown a valid interest in intervening in how other states conduct their elections. This Supreme Court decision is the latest in a long series of defeats for the president's campaign, which has filed nearly 40 lawsuits since the November election. He has only one victory in a minor case involving a small number of ballots. However, the president's legal team has other ideas. They will be filing or have already filed lawsuits in the 4 states mentioned above, plus Arizona and Nevada. These lawsuits will incorporate some of the allegations that were presented in the Texas lawsuit, but this time by a legitimate plaintiff. The former mayor of New York said he didn't understand the statement by judges Alito and Thomas that they would hear the case but do anything about it. The facts must be heard, and this must be nipped in the bud or it will get worse, he said. If the state doesn't have legitimacy, surely the president has limited legitimacy. Certainly, the voters in the states have position. So, they will be taking those same cases directly to those courts, starting today, the lawyer said. And let's see what excuse they can use to avoid having a hearing on that. The attorney stressed the need for the courts to hear evidence presented by the claims, challenging the results. These facts must be heard, he said, because this kind of electoral anomaly can continue if it is not nipped in the bud. If we don't deal with it, if we allow the big media, the big technology, the politicians and the elite in Washington DC, if we allow them to ignore this, things will get worse and worse. Censorship. The lawyer continued to insist that they have a case and complained that they face censorship, not only from the propaganda media, but also in the courts. He said that they still go to the state courts even after judge has rejected many cases so far. Let the American people hear the facts and let the judges hear the facts. So far, the facts have been suppressed. They have been subject to censorship, he said. Censorship of the big media, censorship of the big technology, censorship of the Democratic Party, and censorship of the courts. No court has granted a hearing. The Christian News website wrote that various Christian prophets are saying that this is not over. They say that the rocks are about to move. It will start with a phone call, and I can tell you that you will be surprised to see how much spreading there is. He believes that they are calling on the baby boomers of this nation to stand up and believe that the best is yet to come. Alternatives. The presidential legal team is considering alternative options after the Supreme Court rejected Texas election complaint. The legal team's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and Jenna Ellis shared Friday that the team is considering filing separate lawsuits in district court, following the court's rejection of a Texas lawsuit to challenge election results in 4 battleground states. The two lawyers also called on the courts to have the courage to allow hearings on the lawsuits. In an interview with Newsmax, the attorney called the Supreme Court's decision a terrible mistake. Basically, the courts say they want to stay out of this. They don't want to give us a hearing. They don't want the American people to hear the facts. The former New York mayor said, "These facts will remain an open sore in our history unless they are resolved or solved. They need to be heard. They need to be aired, and someone needs to make a decision about whether they are true or false. And some courts will have the courage to make that decision." Until January 6th. He noted that the team still have time until January 6th, when Congress will officially count the votes of the Electoral College. That time in January is the most important date, and the Supreme Court has recognized it, he said. We still have time. The state legislature have time to do the right thing. They can ask questions, they can hold hearings, they can call on their delegates, and they should do so. And I hope that now all evidence we have presented in these hearings will give them the inspiration and courage they need to act. The legal team plans to continue its legal efforts to fight for the integrity of the election in the states of Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, using arguments based on a particular late vote by Judge Ruth Bader Ginsburg. In the case of Bush versus Gore, in which she said the cutoff date is January 6th, when the legislature officially counts and certifies the electoral votes. Lauren Boebert leads Colorado Republicans in pushing forward election demands. Opinion of Jenna Ellis. The campaign's chief legal advisor, Jenna Ellis, told Newsmax that there is still a line of attack. The mayor said, "We have contemplated filing this as a separate lawsuit in district court, because obviously the president himself would have standing. It is surprising to think that these other states, these disenfranchised voters, wouldn't do that," she said. In his view, what has happened is a moral failure in all three branches of government. You have the executive power first. The problem is that they changed the rules. We know that. We have the clear evidence to prove it, he said. Then there are the state legislators, where there are a significant number of them in the swing states who want to do the right thing, want to exercise their Article 2 authority. But it has been the leadership that has refused to do the constitutional appropriate thing. Rumors or hoaxes. It is said that the Library of Congress is preparing for a possible government shutdown on December 12th. A coded tweet from the president said it could be time for the dam to break, which could mean that the swamp is about to burst. The president announced the launch of the golden inauguration in 24 hours, which is encrypted language is interpreted as a golden endorsement. Others interpret that when he said FISA instead of cipher in his speech, he was referring to the classification. Don Carlos de Marbella goes even further when he remembers that the watered market ballots were once approved by the Supreme Court itself before the elections, and that the president has the exact count of the authentic votes by means of a quantum voting system that worked in parallel with the rigged voting machines. In his view, the coalition knows that if there is no success in the Supreme Court, this dispute could be transferred to a military court in Guantanamo. He adds that the fuss has prevented stimulus funds from reaching the people. The fuss, I mean the Pelusa. Don Carlos is convinced that the Central Communications blackout is coming through an operation called Rig for Red Zero Day. Repeat, Rig for Red Zero Day. He reveals that there are massive troop movements and that they are gathered at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. Warships were stationed on the east and west coasts, and there has been a large movement of aircraft and much military activity in Iceland. Don Carlos believes that martial law is likely to be declared in January 2021 to ensure the Constitution and defend the rule of law. Astrologers say the hottest day would be January 13. Judy Shelton believes that the last opinion left to save the Republic would be the President's national security option, which would reflect the actions of Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. The President seems weak and losing at the moment. He is getting headwinds from all sides and seems to have lost the election. His opponents appear strong and powerful, pretending with their propaganda media that they will actually move into the White House in January. But anyone who has observed the president objectively in recent years realizes that something doesn't fit in with this version of events. Hal Turner's radio program has just broadcast an unconfirmed rumor that 50,000 Chinese soldiers were allegedly bombed in Maine, which was labeled labeled as an earthquake. Then an F-16 would have been shot down in Michigan, where carrier battle groups would have been deployed on the west coast and 2 other groups on the east coast. Too strong to be true. It looks like a hoax at first sight, but nothing can be ruled out. Ancient aliens. Ancient Egyptian astronauts and symbols of display for this year's nativity in St. Peter's Square. The Vatican inaugurated the nativity scene in St. Peter's Square next to a beautiful Christmas tree, a majestic 20-meter high fir tree, and this nativity scene could be a challenge even for many conspiracy experts. It seems that the Vatican has bought the interesting theory of the ancient aliens of the TV series of I don't remember the name, Sakouros. Ancient astronauts referred to the idea that intelligent beings from other worlds would have visited the Earth and come into contact with human beings in antiquity and prehistory. But this is not the classic Catholic version of the Nativity. Georgios Sakouros, now I remember the name. What are they trying to communicate to us with this strange representation of the birth of our Lord? Behind the baby Jesus, there is a vision of the encouraging Archangel Gabriel, who appears to Zechariah and the Virgin Mary, predicting the births of John the Baptist and Jesus, and is usually included in traditional representations of the Nativity. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot for your attention, and look after you. Thank you.